All right, so on the wolf chart, we're dealing with pretty much, I put this chart together based around my trading strategy and how I kind of approach the market and how I approach trading in general. And the way I trade, my whole goal is to trade with smart money. And if you have you heard the term smart money before?
No, sir.
Okay, so when you're trading with smart money or who smart money, smart money are people like Warren Buffett, J.P. Morgan, Chase Bank, Wells Fargo, these hedge funds, or anybody that has enough buying power to actually make the market shift in whatever direction they feel like they want to manipulate the market in. And so when companies like ARK Invest, like with Kathy Woods that buys a lot of Tesla, or Berkshire Hathaway with Warren Buffett, when these guys buy shares of a stock or when they buy option contracts, they buy like millions of shares at a time sometimes, right? And so
Yes.
with that type of money, it creates a lot of volume and it pushes the stock, saying aggressively in certain directions, especially when they sell, they decide to dump a stock. I don't care if the stock is as big as Microsoft. If enough of them start selling, it can drop like this. Microsoft is a multi-trillion-dollar company with a multi-trillion-dollar market cap. But if they start dumping their shares, it can only they can drop Microsoft like this, right? But also only they can buy in and shoot Microsoft up like this. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. So we're going to what I'm going to do is I'm going to isolate certain parts of the chart to just so you can understand how each indicator works.
Okay.
And then I'm going to put them all together and show you how we enter and exit trades with these indicators. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. So let me take these off. So the first thing we're going to look at these smart money buy zones, or sometimes you will hear me refer to them as smart money order blocks. And all these are us focusing on where they're buying into the stock at. So with on the wolf chart, what we can see is these green zones and these red zones on the chart, right? And so, and before we get into that, on TradingView, the first thing, if you're new to TradingView, the first thing that'll frustrate you is that sometimes when you, especially you have zones on your chart like this that's showing these order blocks and these buy zones, your chart will be smushed down like this right here, right? It is sometimes you would change your time frame, your chart will be squished together like this.
Yes, sir.
So in TradingView, over here with this price scale to the right hand side, if you're on like a tablet or your phone, if you swipe up, with both your fingers on this price scale, this is how you stretch your chart out vertically, right?
Yes, sir.
And then down here at the bottom, you can
Okay.
stretch, yeah, widen your chart out horizontally from left to right, right? And then you also can grab the chart, pick it up, and drag it anywhere. So if you pull up your chart, it's stretched out too big like this right here, it's looking all crazy. You just bring it down, slide it from left to right, so you can see the current price action, and you can move your chart wherever you want to be able to see. Okay. All right. So the first thing we're going to focus on though is these institutional order blocks and how do we use these to get in and out of trades. So we're looking at Microsoft right now on a daily time frame, and everything I'm telling you applies to every time frame. So it doesn't matter what time frame we're on. We're just going to start with the
Oh,
daily.
okay.
We're just going to start with the daily time frame. But if we look at Microsoft chart, we have these we have these buy zones on here, and we have these sell zones. So we can see by putting our mouse on this candle, if we touch this candle that started this zone, this green buy zone, at the bottom of Trading View, it's going to show you the date that it happened on. And so this happened on April the 30th of 2024. Okay. And institutional investors, these billionaires or these companies that manage trillions of dollars of shares of stocks, right, or buys them, they came in and bought Microsoft between the price of 402.16 and 389.17. And the reason I know what range they bought it in is because at the top of Trading View, they have this OHLC. This O is for the open, the high, the low, and the close. So each one of these candles on the chart, they have to open and they have to close. And it's based off which time frame they're on, right? So are you familiar with candles opening? What do I mean by open and close candle?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So when you at the top of every trading view chart, they give you this data up here that shows you the opening price, how high that candle went after it opened, how low it went after it opened, and then what price was it before the candle closed. Okay. And so if I look at the high and low of that candle, it shows me that the high of it was 402.16 and the low was 389.17. So that lets me know the range that they accumulated their shares of Microsoft. So you see, after they bought Microsoft, when you have this much money coming into a stock and you put a limit order in to buy the stock, what happens is once that order starts to fill, say if they want to buy $50 million worth of Microsoft or $100 million worth of Microsoft. As that first 30 million to 40 million starts filling in, the order starts to fill. The price starts going up as they're buying, and then it eventually leaves their price range where they want to buy from. So it leaves this $60 million just sitting here, waiting for Microsoft to come back down and it'll rebuy, right? So you can
Yeah.
see Microsoft price shot up after that buy. They took profit between 468.35 and 458.97. I'm still looking at the high and low up here. So now we can see this is where they're dumping Microsoft. So they thought Microsoft was overvalued up here. So they sold it between this range. Microsoft dropped, and look what happened. They came right back down to this old money that they had on the chart back here in April.
Yeah.
So it came back down to this zone in August. And the reason why Microsoft bounced right back out of it, just shot it back out, is because all it did is came down here and re-triggered that money that was sitting here. All them buy orders that they had, they started re-triggering these buy orders and it shot back out. Then it came back down again and retouched that same zone. And not only did it start filling these orders again, but they actually came back in a second time. Because now if you see how over here, this zone stops here. And then right here on this candle, it's showing you that they bought the dip on Microsoft right here because a new zone came in right here. So they bought Microsoft again to protect this position that they already have. So they came down, they bought Microsoft again, and it shot up from 400 all the way to 440. It bounced out that money, and you can see kind of how they play the game. So with our chart, we can see everywhere they've accumulated Microsoft shares, even back to May 2023, we can see it everywhere they bought Microsoft, where their positions are. And we can see if Microsoft was to shoot up and get back in this zone, we know that this is where all their sell orders are sitting at. Okay.
Okay.
So we use that information when we're basing our doing our trade plan. So even if you come down to a 5 minute time frame and we look at that same information that I just gave you on the 1 day time frame, it's going to be the same thing, right? Microsoft, this is on January the 3rd. They bought Microsoft on January the 3rd between the price of 421.46 and 420.94. It shot up, came back down near this zone, and then it took off after they bought, right? It took off, went all the way up to 434. They decided to take profit on Microsoft, but when it pushed down, they took profit again, and look where it came and stopped at. They bought it here on July 3rd. This is the 5 minute time frame. They bought it on July 3rd. And then when it came back down here on July 7th, right, 2 days later, look where Microsoft bounced from. It bounced right back from that old money, just like it does on a daily time frame. You see that? Came back down and touched it again and bounced again, right? So this when we can see their position is beneficial because we know that if we got into puts here, so say we saw this bearish, we saw them selling and this big bearish sell zone popped up on the chart and say we were riding puts down. As we are, so this zone is already this zone has already been on here since January the 3rd. So as this thing is approaching this range down here, we know that the opportunity for puts is over with. You have to be out of your puts because now you're running back into institutional money that's trying to bounce Microsoft back up. You see that?
Yeah, yeah,
So we can see exactly where they're positioned at, so we know when to, so we can know when to get out of a trade when we're overstaying our welcome and all those type things. So this is how the institutional buy zones and sell zones work, and then we can see them even if you go down to the 15 minute or go up to the 15 minute. You can see the same thing, but the higher the time frame, the stronger the zones are. Okay,
yeah. Okay.
you understand that what I just said?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So the higher the time frame, the stronger the zones are. And so like we look at here, I'm zoomed all the way out, but this is the 15-minute time frame. So
Yeah,
back
yeah.
in July, they sold Microsoft off from up here, and look what happened. We came all the way over here, and we got back up to that range. But if you got this type of information on your chart, when we getting back up here for the first, so we came and created this zone way back here in July, and it took all the way into December to get back to this zone for Microsoft. But me when I since I got this chart, I don't have any questions that I have to add. I know that I'm getting out of the trade. If I'm in calls, I'm taking profit here and I'm looking to establish a put position if they get weak right here. Because I can already see that the last time they came up here, they dumped Microsoft from 457 all the way down to 385, right? And then this is the first retest of that zone right here. So I know that it's a lot of sell pressure right there. This is where the institutional bears are camped out at. So you see what happened. We came up here and tapped it twice, and it dropped from 455 all the way down to 415. Okay. So this is why we have these zones on our chart so that we can see where smart money is positioned at on the chart, and we can take advantage of that by, you know, paying attention when to exit and when to enter into trades based off of where their positioning is. Now the other part, hold on for a second.